Good morning. You're welcome to another edition of Import Export Platform Facebook Live from 3Thinkpest Trade Academy. And my name is Dele Ayemibo. We'll continue our conversation from where we left off yesterday. I will be repeating what I did yesterday night, simply because of the fact that for one reason or the other I can't find the video online. So I'll be repeating it this morning, and if anyway, I will have been able to get anyone. I can't remember if anyone that shared the video to be able to probably get it across to me, but since I'm already repeating it, maybe that will not be necessary again. But basically, we'll continue the discussion on starting a managing export business. And if you were with me yesterday, I spoke about how to mitigate the risk. How to solve the problem. And the problem we looked at yesterday was we've looked at paperwork, we've looked at product. Yesterday was payment. So I'll just recap what I said yesterday, and then maybe now do the next one in the evening, because I need to put the video on YouTube, and for one reason or the other I'm unable to locate that video, so I can't put it on YouTube. I can't even find it on my timeline, strangely. I can't even find it on my timeline. So that's why. So if you listened yesterday and you are listening this morning, just know that we are just basically repeating the same thing that was discussed yesterday. I can't even find it on my timeline. All right. Yesterday we talked about payment as a problem in international trade, and we look at payment default, payment delay, payment discrepancy on document causing delay in payment, and we now ended up with funding. You know, funding helps you to be able to pay your supplier. Funding the importer make it easier to pay the exporter. Funding the exporter make it easier for the exporter to pay his own supplier and perform on the transaction and able to do the shipment. So on both sides, funding I think is critical. Funding I think is important on both sides. Talking about payment default, you know, when I was doing this yesterday, I remember an African, I don't know the country where that guy was from, but he was asking some question and was very much interested in the challenge of not being able to get people in Africa, get Europeans to wanting us to ship first before they pay. And he was talking about the fact that trust was a major issue that is making them to do that. And I told him that that's true, that we have very big issue of trust in Africa, and that's a major challenge. So, but they are used to that kind of option. I mean the European now. The European are basically used to open account. What's open account? Open account is said to occur when I, as an exporter, is telling I as an importer is telling an exporter to first of all ship the goods. After he has shipped the goods, then I will pay afterwards. Open account is said to occur when I, as an egg importer, is telling an exporter to go ahead and ship the goods. And after he has shipped the goods, payment will be made. So the question is, what if payment was not made? And I was talking about the fact that the reason why payment will not be made is either because the party in question is having an issue with his business, that means it's insolvent, or that means it's legitimately unable to pay, or is basically fraudulent and was not going to pay. And I mentioned that if you go and check this particular series, Starting and Managing Export Business, from part 30 to 40, between part 30 and 40, that you will find some video there where I propose about 7 ways that you can use to mitigate the risk of open account. I propose about 7 different ways that you can use to mitigate the risk of open account. And I was basically saying that open account indeed is a risk, but that risk can be anticipated and mitigated. Open account is a risk, but you know what? That risk can be anticipated and mitigated. If you are unable to anticipate and mitigate the risk, it's because of knowledge gap. And I said yesterday that in the morning of yesterday, you know, for every day now, because I'm talking about solutions to export business problem, I'm also doing that alongside principles. Principle I consider very vital and very important for the success of any export adventure. And I was saying that the exporter need to go and learn how to mitigate this risk. And I emphasize the law of mental labor. The law of mental labor. The law of mental labor talk about being able to sweat in your brain. And that when you sweat in your brain, you earn more. But when you sweat in your muscle, you earn less. Because everybody have a muscle, but very few people use their brain or have developed mind to be able to use their brain. And that the problem you face in business, especially in export, more often than not are going to be knowledge gap. And trust me, someone has provided solution to your problem and put it in a book, put it on the internet, put it in a blog, put it in a YouTube video, put it in a Facebook program, in different parts of different things, different places that you find the solution to your problem. What that basically tells you is that the solution is available, but you have the job to find that solution. You have the job to find that solution. You have the job to find that solution. And the inability to find that solution make you hinder your progress in business and especially as an exporter. So one of the challenges you will face in export business is default payment and delay payment. Delay payment can be as a result of discrepancies. Discrepancy on document when you are doing a letter of credit transaction. What is a discrepancy? The last video I did, I spent a lot, that was yesterday morning, I spent a lot of time discussing discrepancies. I spent a lot of time defining and discussing discrepancies. Discrepancy is there to occur when the document presented is at variance with the terms and conditions on the letter of credit. Remember, letter of credit relies solely on document for payment to be made. However, this payment will only be made when the terms and conditions of the transactions have been met. This payment will only be made when the terms and conditions of the transaction has been met, can be met. So you need to be able to meet the terms and conditions of the transaction for the payment to be made. And how do you meet the terms and conditions? Through document. The document you are presenting gives us an insight into whether you have been able to meet up with the terms and conditions of the transaction. When this document is at variance with the terms of the LC, that document is said to be discrepant. Discrepant. So discrepancy of document in a trade transaction is said to occur when the document presented is against the terms agreed in the letter of credit. This discrepancy is said to occur when the document presented is against the letter of credit as stated, is against terms and condition as stated on letter of credit. This is critical, this is important, this is very, very important. Very, very crucial. Very, very important. Why? Because the buyer will not likely see the goods before he pays. So, because he won't see the good before he pays, we have to rely on the document you are presenting. He will rely on the efficacy, genuineness, correctness of the document you are presenting. If that document is not correct, if that document is discrepant, if that document is not in order, you know what will happen? The document will constitute a discrepancy, and you know what? That will lead to delay in your payment. That document will constitute a discrepancy, and that will lead to a delay in your payment. So what am I saying in essence? I'm basically saying that for you to be an exporter, you must learn enough and know enough to be able to mitigate the risk of not getting paid. You know why? Discrepancy might not even be a challenge for you, because when we are talking about payment default or delay will be discrepancy, but default might be because you decided to take on an open account transaction without learning how to mitigate the risk of open account transaction. You decide to take on an open account transaction without knowing how to mitigate the risk of open account transaction. Question to you is this: what do you think you should do to be able to mitigate open account or cash against document transaction? What do you do? What are you supposed to do to mitigate against open account or cash against document transaction? What do you do? Sorry, it's a bit dark. I'm in transit and we're under the bridge. So as soon as we are out of the bridge, it's going to be clear. Okay, yeah. So we're out of the bridge now. We're out of the bridge now. Open account transaction. Open account transaction is so critical and so important. Open account transaction constitutes 80% of trade in the world. That's over $16 trillion. That simply means that for you as an exporter, you might not be able to do without cash against document or open account. You might not be able to do without it. You might not be able to do without it. However, if you have to deal with it, then you need to know the implications of open account transaction. If you have to deal with it, then you need to know the implications of open account transaction. Implication of open account transaction. The implication is that you might not get paid, which is the challenge we are looking at this morning. And we say it's a big problem because many people will give you that payment method that is not securing your payment. And I'm saying there are 7 options to be explored. Your buyer will not use letter of credit, but you might still be able to get some level of security or protection on your transaction while he does his own cash against document and have access to his document on time and prevent discrepancy and the like. You might still be able to catch on that and get what you want in that transaction. What exactly do you want in the transaction? You want to ensure your payment is secured. And I'm saying there are many options available for you to be able to secure your payment in a letter of credit transaction. All right. What's the next one? We've talked about default, then delay. Delay and discrepancies are knit together. They are one. Delay and discrepancy are knit together. They are one. When there is a discrepancy, there will be delay in payment. When there is a discrepancy, there might be default in payment. If the buyer is fraudulent, there might be default in payment. If the buyer is fraudulent. But delay in payment is normal. Delay in payment is expected if you have a discrepant document under a letter of credit transaction. Delay in payment is normal. Delay in payment is expected when you have a discrepancy in a letter of credit transaction. The last one is funding. We are still discussing payment. You know, for you to pay your suppliers and exporter, you need funding. You need to be funded. You need funding. And I made some remark on funding yesterday. Number one, I said, if you are in Nigeria or in Africa, know that a number of banks in Nigeria and Africa do not understand export business. A number of banks in Nigeria and Africa do not understand export business. Why? They don't understand export business simply because Africa do not do a lot of exportation. They don't understand export business simply because Africa do not do a lot of exportation. Africa is a net importer. We consume what we don't produce, and we produce what we don't consume. Africa is a net importer. We consume what we don't produce, we produce what we don't consume. As a net importer, therefore, it's interesting for me to know, it's not surprising for me to know that we are not funding export the way we ought to do it. Why? You only know what you do. You only know what you do. If you don't do it well enough, you won't know it. And if you don't know it, then your citizen will not be able to get funding. If the government wants to grow export in any African country, the first thing is mass education of the bankers to provide the fund. Number two, mass education of the public to request for the fund. Mass education of the business people, mass education of the bank finance people. Mass education of the business people, mass education of the finance people. Education of these two people, set of people, can grow export by an amount you might never even imagine. Might grow it by an amount you might not ever even imagine. You know why? Because these two people are the one that drive the volume of export. The people doing the business, the people funding the transaction. For the people doing the business, with the mindset that ex-bank do not understand export, that should drive you into now you taking it upon yourself to understand export. You know why? If you don't understand it, you will give the bank 1,001 reason to throw away your application. But when you understand it, you will give the bank a reason to be able to defend your position and convince them that this is a correct, right, risk-free, fantastic and profitable transaction that they should do. If you don't know about funding of export well enough, then you will not likely get the funding, even if you have an wholesome and fantastic transaction, because the bank that is to fund do not understand the dynamics of your transaction. The bank that is to fund do not understand the dynamics of your transaction. Because the bank do not understand the dynamic of your transaction, that makes it difficult for them to fund. And because it's difficult for them to fund, the implication of that is you will not be able to get your funding. So, do you want to get funding? Go and learn about export financing. And how do you learn about export financing? I have a book. That's one of the most practical export financing books you will find. It's not a textbook to be read by university students for to learn about export financing is a business book written with charts, bullet point, short statement, short explanation, cutting across almost every area of export financing with A, B, C to Z representing a word, because the title is A to Z of export business financing. A to Z of export business financing. It is designed for exporter, banker, and investors in export business. It enables you to be able to comfortably and conveniently invest in export business without much stress. Without much stress of back and forth with the bank. If you know it very well and you apply the principles thought of put out in the book, you will have successfully helped equip yourself with skill needed to convince the banker that you have a correct, viable, successful transaction that they should fund. A to Z of export business financing. Remember, this is a repeat broadcast, so I will also repeat the principle I talked about yesterday, and the principle is the principle of promotion. Promotion. The law of promotion says the more consistent you are in diligently doing the right thing, the higher your chance of growth, the higher your chance of success, the higher your chance of promotion, the higher your chance of increase. The more consistent you are in diligently doing the right thing. The more consistent you are in diligently doing the right thing. The more consistent you are in diligently doing the right thing, the higher your chance of success. Now, in this quote, you will realize that there is, number one, diligence. Number two, doing the right thing. Number three, consistency. Number one, diligence. Whatever you do, if you are going to be fruitful, if the fruit is going to endure, one thing you cannot do without is diligence. If you want to stand before kings, if you want to do great stuff in life, if you want to do great stuff in business, you must learn diligence. Diligence. Number two, the right thing. The whole essence of learning, of law of mental labor I talked about yesterday, is to know the right thing that you need to do. Is to know the right thing that you need to do. You need to know the right thing that you need to do. You need to know the right thing that you need to do. The whole essence of diligence or doing business is doing it the right way, doing the right thing, and also at the right time. To know the right thing, get that book, A to Z of Export Business Financing. So you know exactly what you need to do. We also have another book, Export Business Made Easy. These are books that give you insight into what you need to do. These are books that give you insight into what you need to do. Export Business Financing, A to Z of Export Business Financing, and Export Business Made Easy. And lastly, the consistent. Day before yesterday, I talked about the law of gestation. Law of gestation is talking about consistency. Because when you start doing it, it won't happen day 1, day 2, day 3. It might happen month 10, month 20, month 30. It might happen much later. Because you don't know when it will happen, when the growth and increase will happen. That's the whole essence of consistency. That's the whole essence of consistency. Alright, thank you very much for listening this morning. My name is Dela Imba. This is Import Export Helpline, Facebook Live for Twins Better Academy. See you in the evening as we continue our conversation on starting and managing export business, and then we'll be looking at part 83. Bye for now.